Hi students, welcome to our English class. Today we're going to learn about something exciting. Narrative text. Do you love stories like folktales, myths, or fairy tales? By the end of this lesson, you will understand what narrative texts are, their genre, structure, and language features. Check this out. So, what is narrative text? Narrative text is a kind of text that tells the imaginative or factual, the past tense. Now we're going to genre of narrative text. The first is fables. Fables are stories about animals with human traits and always include a moral lesson. For example, like the lion and the mouse. And the second is myth. Myth are stories about gods, goddesses, or the origins of the world. For example, is Nyiroro Kidul. And the third is legend. Legend are stories that mix historical facts with fiction. For example, is Sangkuriang. The fourth is folktales. Folktales are traditional stories passed down through generation. They often reflect the values of a culture. For example, is Malin Kundang. 5 is fairy tales. Fairy tales are imaginative stories with magical elements. For example, is Cinderella. And the last is love story. A love story in which the protagonist struggles to win the love of his or her lover. For example, is Romeo and Juliet. So, what is the purpose of the narrative text? For the first, to entertain the readers, and the second, to amuse the readers, and the last, to teach moral value. Now, we're going to structure of narrative text. The first is orientation. The orientation is the beginning of the story that introduces the characters, setting, and time. And the second is complication. Complication is the problem or conflict that drive the story. And the last is resolution. Resolution is the end of the story where the problem is solved. Okay, we're going to example of narrative text. Now, this is the example. The title is The Lion and the Mouse. So, I will read for you guys. One day, a lion was sleeping in the forest when a little mouse accidentally ran across his path. The lion woke up angrily and caught the mouse with his hook paw. The mouse begged, "Please, let me go, and someday I will help you in return." The lion, amused by the mouse's plea, decided to release him. "You are so small. How could you possibly help me?" The lion thought. But he let the mouse go. Some days later, the lion was caught in the hunter's net. He roared loudly, struggling to break free. Hearing the roar, the mouse came to in the lion's rescue. The mouse gnawed through the ropes of the net until the lion was free. "Thank you for saving me," said the lion. "I never thought a small mouse could help me." The mouse smiled and said, "You were kind to let me go, and now I have kept my promise." So, the example include of fables, because fables are stories about animals with human traits and always include a moral lesson. Now, I will tell you about the structure in these fables. In the red sentence, it is called orientation because orientation is the beginning of the story that introduces the characters, setting, at time. And the blue sentence is complication, because complication is the problem or conflict that drives the story. And the last we call resolution, because the end of the story where the problem is solved. So next we're going to language features of narrative text. The first is past tense. For example, Malin Kundang was a poor boy. Was, is it past tense? And the second is action verbs. For example, run, said, shouted. And the last is time connectors. For example, first, then, after that, and suddenly. Okay, that's all for today's lesson on narrative text. You have learned about the genre, structure, and language features of narrative text. Today's assignment, please read the story provided and answer this question. Okay, that's all for today. Hopefully it's useful for you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye bye!